I think it is just starting recording. Okay, there we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Shooting the Shit with Chris. But we should probably rename it to Shooting the Shit with Chris and Adrian because we brought Adrian along as a permanent co-host for the podcast, vlog, whatever you guys want to call it. We were supposed to have a guest tonight, but he a hoe. So if you're watching, Steven, you a hoe. So we were going to get into some other topics, but being that he's not here, we'll hold off on that because the three of us, all, I mean, my connection to both of them is through Need for Speed. We've talked about it on the first episode, but we'll leave that for another one because I'm sure there's plenty to talk about Need for Speed Underground too. Um, an interesting kind of conversation that sparked between me and Adrian the other day was car movies or cars in movies. We won't say car movies because I think what we were kind of talking about was like cars that are in movies that aren't really hyped up like the Fast and the Furious Supra,
or
um,
overhyped.
overhyped, yeah, like the Fast and the Furious cars, Eleanor. We'll get into that, but I was telling him that a car that stands out to me is the late '90s, mid '90s Porsche from the first Bad Boys, as you know, with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. So yeah, the car, what is it's really it's no, it's his car, right? Throughout the whole
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Yes. So it's Will Smith's Porsche throughout the whole movie, and I don't know that car, like if it, even if you're not into Porsches, it's a timeless design. It's like the last. I'm gonna say it's the last of that kind of body before they went to the more modern style Porsche. But like that one stuck out to me without it being in a total car movie. I thought that was like something I like. I to this day I'm like, man, if I see a Porsche like that in real life, it's something special to see. It's not like a 2003 Carrera, whatever.
Yeah, the 964 Porsche. That's like you said, it's a timeless body shape. It's you don't see him around anymore. Like, it's very rare that you see him. I'm sure you see
Right.
him at like you know Porsche meets and stuff like that.
It's
Or
probably tucked away
those
in a
tucked away in the
garage.
garage with some old guy hiding the keys in the safe or some shit. But
Right.
those cars are beautiful, man. I think that movie. How old was I? That movie came out in the mid 90s.
I want to
I
say
was
97. Let's look it
yeah,
up.
I was probably that's probably when like Gran Turismo just came out, the first one.
1995. So,
Really?
yeah.
So that's what I was like 10 or 11 years old then. From then
So,
I fell in love with Porsches after I seen that car, especially that scene at the end where he's chasing the Cobra.
and it
So
was a turbo. It had to be a turbo.
I think they were turbo, yeah. I think it was a 3.6 liter.
So that thing would definitely give the Cobra a run for its money.
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick. I'm trying to think what car I like that was in the movies. I've always liked Aston Martin's, James Bond movies. I don't know.
And
There's some.
and that carried throughout the entire James Bond series. I haven't
Yeah,
watched the new one, but I'm pretty certain it's carried on in each movie. It had some kind of role.
yeah. There was
Still,
no. There was one.
the BMW,
The
the
BMW.
Z1,
Uh,
the
there's a couple. There
Z1
was a
was
couple of them
really
that
weird.
they switched over to BMW. I think they had like a 7 Series in one with Pierce Brosnan. There was the Z4. I'm trying to remember what else. For me, I'm not a BMW fan at all. Like I don't like BMWs whatsoever. But Aston Martins, man, there's just something about them. They just look so beautiful, and it's
It's
not even a car to
el
like, huh,
it's elegant.
bro? It's that's a car you just jump in and just drive. Like
Hmm.
you're not looking for speed. I mean, they're decently quick.
No, it's fast. It's fast for it's not blowing any speed records, but it definitely got to be a
Right.
quick car.
Yeah. But that's just a profile car. You go out with the wife with that one, and, Sunday brunch or whatever. I don't do brunch. I don't do that shit. But
Well, it's a car with status.
yeah, if I was to like win lotto, I think Aston Martin would have to be one of the cars that I buy, along with MK4 Supra and maybe a ZR1 Corvette. But Aston would definitely have to be in the list. Aston and a Porsche, actually. I like the
Yeah,
Porsche. I don't
you
yo,
gotta
but
you gotta match it.
I don't really like the new Porsches.
I think they're nice. I
They're
like the new
nice,
Porsches.
but it's like I don't know. I don't know how to feel about them.
Maybe you got to drive
Yeah, probably.
drive one of the CC. Then you'll
Yeah,
change your mind.
I'll change my mind after that.
I mean, the topic was non-car movies with nice cars, but oh, you know what we were talking about? The butterfly effect
Yeah.
had a Celica GT with that one. Yeah, I think it had flip ups. I'm not sure, but the Celica GT, the rear wheel drive one from the 80s,
Hmm.
that stuck out to me. Being a super head.
Hmm.
And then I was telling Adrian, I think it was I can't remember the name of it, but there's this early '90s movie with Tom Cruise. He's a lawyer, and they're asking for him to do something illegal or whatever it is. He had a Celica Supra in that movie, and I don't know if he kept it throughout the whole movie or what the story, what the deal was with that, but it was kind of cool to see. There's a
Hmm.
piece of metal in my arm from when I laid in the garage.
Nice.
How nice. But I
You
don't know,
you
that
know where
stuck out.
I recently saw a MK2 Super in what show was that? Oh, Power. What was that? Raising Canaan? Like the mother or whatever, the main chick in the series or whatever. Um, I guess 50 Cent's younger counterpart or whatever when he was young or whatever got in a fight at the playground or some shit, and then he went home and his mother asked, "Yo, what happened to you?" And then she's like, "Nah, he got beat up or whatever." She's like, "Oh no, we can't have that." And then you see them rolling up in a clean black, completely stock Celica Super. I was like, wow, that looked really good. I was pretty surprised about
And
that
to
one.
think that's a new show that's, going back in time, there was
Yeah,
probably hundreds and hundreds of cars they could choose from. And for some reason, I mean, maybe that's, they just stumbled upon it, or maybe
bro.
50 Cent likes Mark II Supras.
No, well, back in the day, like I mean, when I came to this country, I was 8 years old. This was back in 93, 92, or whatever. And I kind of remember like growing up in like Queens or whatever. I remember there being a lot of them driving around in Queens. I mean, it's very, that was a very, how do you say it? There's a lot of Caribbean people in that area, and they just naturally gravitated to, the old Supras, RX-7s, stuff like that. So I used to see a lot of them. I used to feel cool too because my mom had an 87 and used to drop me in school with it. I used to feel kind of cool with that.
Like, woo, hey Gatsby, hey Gatsby.
Good old head gasket.
Right. Um, Now that we're talking more, we also mentioned Paid in Full. I can't remember the actors, but Paid in Full, which I think takes place in the 80s, 80s or early 90s, but the movie came out in the early 2000s. And one of the cars that stood out to me, which was kind of funny, was the Saab. Because I don't, I'm trying to remember, but I remember, he made some money. They were dealing drugs or whatever.
Mhm.
He came up, he made some money in the car. He comes out with this Saab, which,
Yo,
I mean, sorry if there's any
Saab was
Saab
big
lovers
back in
out
those
there,
days,
but
man. Everybody wanted a Saab, especially that it said turbo.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wanted a Saab, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's so
like
weird. I don't think I,
maybe a cool car back in the day.
bro. I mean, I guess you have to grow up in that era, but there's nothing appealing to me about a Saab. Like nothing at all.
Yeah.
It just looks ugly. It looks like a shortened station wagon to me. Like it should just look weird.
Yeah, and they kept the same design forever. It seems like, and
Just
like
kept
who
updating.
was a part of the who was part of the design team there? It's like let's keep it the same from '82. Like you would look at the last one, and it has similarities to probably the first batch or whatever
Yeah.
style it is. Um, and then there's Menace to Society. I think it was Menace to Society.
Mustang.
Or the one, huh?
Mustang.
Yeah, when so he had the Fox Mustang, and keep in mind this movie came out in the early '90s, so the Fox was still a hot ass car.
Yeah.
Which I mean today it's still a hot car with people because now they're either good or they're crappy. But so he pulls up to one guy. I don't know if he was in his Fox yet. He might have been, but the guy next to him had Dayton's on his. And then I
Mm.
remember sometime later in the movie, he has Dayton's on his Fox body Mustang. And I don't know if he stole them or what the story was, but I just watching it like that's a new car back then, and the first
Yeah.
thing he does is put Danes on. It's just like to each their own because I ain't putting Danes on nothing. But
That,
for him to put it on that car is kind of silly.
that West Coast for you.
Yeah. Yeah, we see that around here. We see Danes on
Really?
like Hyundais and Sentras and random cars you wouldn't want to see them on. They're in the 13-inch wire wheels and they're got that poke out and yeah, I'm not about that. So
We don't see that at all over here. I mean, there'd be
yeah,
like one or two you'll see, but that stuff is not popular over on the East Coast. I'm sure there's groups that people that do it. It's just
yeah,
not very mainstream like it is on the West Coast, you know.
right.
But it's still cool though. I kind of like that lowrider, like that movie thing or whatever. That's pretty dope. I wouldn't do it personally, but I like my stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it personally, but like not the lowrider look, but those old Lincoln Continentals that are just slammed, like bagged,
Uh,
suicide doors, matte
like,
black, like those things
like
are I would never own one, but it's super tough looking. The
uh,
old freaking big body ass cars. But
see that in Texas a lot.
yeah, like Dallas, like the high rollers.
Houston and stuff.
Yeah,
Big body
yeah,
things.
swinging.
Pimping out fofos.
Yeah. Freaking Paul Wall pulls up, swinging. But all right, so we talked a little bit about that. I think we should get into something juicy as far as movie cars go. Uh, Mark for Supras ruined forever. No one can own them unless you're
You
rich
got
or you're lucky.
money.
You got money, and you know what? I'm just gonna come out and say it because everyone knows it. Fast and the Furious very well have ruined that
They fucked us
forever.
over.
Yeah.
Quick
So
story.
yeah, Adrian needs to tell this story.
I was about 22, 23 years old. The movie came out 2002, I think it was, or
Mm,
2001.
2001, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I went to go look at one to buy it, knowing damn well I didn't have the money to buy it. I was asking 14 grand. Um, twin turbo 6 speed car. It was painted some crazy ass. I think it was like a green color. Like, if I remember correct, I believe it was like a lime green. Car looked really good, but I went there with no intentions of buying it because I couldn't afford it. I was, good old those tire kickers or whatever. And the guy wanted 14 grand for the car. He had like this crazy clutch in the car. He got in it, stalled it, and he's like, I was looking at, it, I was like, this is your car, and you stalled it like that. He's like, yo, it's a heavy duty clutch or whatever. I was like, yo, let me drive it. got in the car, moved over first. He's like, "Yo, see, look, you're made for the car. Car, I was like, bro, I was so mad. I wasn't like at the age. You never see that for 14 grand anymore, ever, ever. Not even
Never.
shells. Shells are going for 20K plus now. So Fast and Furious, fuck you. Made my well, it's not unattainable, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that loved those cars before that movie came out, just like I did. It was always my dream to have them because my family they all had MK3s and MK2s. So essentially, I think I was next in line to get an MK4, but it just never happened because once I guess the timing, once I was able to get money up to buy a car like that, it's just like always 2 steps ahead of me as far as price range. But I can go buy one now. Just I'm being a responsible adult because I want to buy a house first. So, but we'll see. I mean, what the future may hold. I may go the route that you did, Chris, and get a right-hand drive one because it seems like that's the only feasible way to get one.
Right. Because for whatever reason, right-hand drive, really anything to a certain amount. I mean, Skylines only came right-hand drive, but USDM versus JDM cars like RX-7s, Supras, it seems like the JDM one isn't as priced ridiculous as a USDM version for whatever reason.
The reason for that is because the left-hand drive models, there were less of them made because they were only for a certain market, the US particularly. Everywhere else is right-hand drive. So the left-hand drive models are that much more
Very
rare
limited.
in the grand
Yeah.
scheme of things. So that's why the left-hand drive ones are fetching a higher price.
So there's other cars in Fast and the Furious that may or may not, I guess, depending on your opinion, were not affected on that sort of level of what we'll say inflation. I mean, the FDR7, I think it's
It's
still
up there.
priced. It's up there, but it's priced reasonably for what it is. 2-seater, twin
Yeah.
turbo, rotary, kind of hard to come by to find a really nice one. So I think those are priced right. There wasn't.
Yeah.
There was one two. There was one 240SX, but we already knows what the deal was with that, and I think the movie had no play in that. The R34 Skyline, it is what it is. Those are super expensive, regardless of what Fast and Furious did or did not do with that car. But the Supra, being the hero car, definitely took the cake for, over.
I almost
wouldn't even,
wish that they should have they should have made the hero car the Skyline. We'd all have fucking Supers by now.
but do you think back in 2001 people knew what a Skyline was?
Yeah, of course. If he was a car person. Skyline,
But
especially in the US, Skyline you see a Skyline in the US now, all the little kids now, oh it's a
right,
Skyline.
everyone's freaking out.
Everybody knew what a Skyline was back in those days. You have to remember, like, that generation, we were all playing Gran Turismo. And what was one of the
Oh,
number one
yeah.
cars? GTR Skyline. So everybody knew what that was. But
That gotta definitely be without Gran Turismo, you know, our generation, I would say, in late 90s, early 2000s, being kids or whatever, would not have known about many, many of these cars.
mhm,
Hands down, like even we'll say like 12, 13 years ago, Gran Turismo 3, 4, maybe even longer, even older than that. The car that I own now, the Soar, it's the SC300, but if you're playing that game, you're like, the Soar? Like, what is this? Like,
right.
this is an SC300. You wouldn't have known that unless you played a game or you were researching about SC300s and 1JZs and kind of went down the rabbit hole.
Right.
The same thing with Chasers and probably probably even a Sylvia. I would go as far as saying a Sylvia would be kind of one of those unknown cars. Let's say a couple years after, if there was no Gran Turismo, you would have probably not known about it unless you were deep into 240s
Cars.
and SR20s. Yeah. And now people, a Sylvia is just like it's probably not as crazy as a thought of having or seeing as it would have been, back in the day.
The funny thing is, you used to see a lot of S14s and S13s. Now you don't see them at all. Like it's very rare that you see one, and it's either clapped out or it's really nice looking. you know, but that is it's another one of those JDM cars that of that era. So you got the RX-7s, you got the MK4 Supras, the 240s, the 300Zs. I've never been a fan of the Zs because I hated, from a mechanic standpoint, that car is a pain in the ass to work on, especially as a twin turbo.
Too
Everything is
tight.
just jam packed in there. It's like,
Mhm.
ugh, it's a pain in the ass. Um,
300Zs and 3000 GTs
aged
have
well.
not escaped their little bubble. Yeah, it's either you love them or
Oh,
you
you
hate
don't.
them, and I'm not a big
And
fan of either one.
don't get me wrong. There's a couple of guys that have some really fast ones out there. It's just I'm just like hats off to you, but like couldn't be me. I wouldn't go through all that hell.
Right. And those that are like I think I don't know where I seen it, but someone had talked about like 3000 GTs. We'll use that for example. It's legal. It's a legal 25-year-old legal twin turbo all-wheel drive car.
GTO, yeah,
Back in the day, that car was just as fast as a Supra,
yeah.
probably just as fast as almost as fast as a GTR. Also,
Hmm.
it's a boat. It's heavy, but it's fast. But these aren't cars that are on the radar of car guys,
They
I would
didn't get
say.
that. They didn't get that star status like the other ones.
Yeah, and maybe that's because of I don't even know. I don't even know what would be the reason. Maybe it not being as user friendly because of that V6 configuration from the 3000 GT.
Yeah, well, the
But
3000 GT was transverse, no?
yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
front wheel drive setup,
yeah. It's
but
front
it's
wheel drive
crammed in there
biased.
like a Toyota Camry or something.
It's like the SS Impala has a LS, but it's this way.
Oh yeah. It's just half-ass backwards.
LT4, whatever they call it.
Yeah,
Makes
makes no
no
sense.
sense.
And they're not even that slow. Those ones, they're quick, but it's just something silly about that. But I don't know. I think like if it's gonna catch on, it would have already caught on. With a car like that.
See, like me
And
also, I've been looking at like, okay, I want an MK4, but I also really, really like the Chasers, JZX 100s.
mhm.
They're really nice cars. I mean, I don't really like four-door cars, but there's something about those cars that just look so nice.
There's nothing really that looks like a chaser, to be honest.
It's like an
Like a
Avalon.
JZX 100.
It's
Yeah,
like
like
a really sporty
yeah,
Avalon of that time.
like maybe an Avalon, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It just has its own appeal, I guess.
Mm.
And as far you know, the Skyline, Nissan, Goat, but take a look at the rest of what Nissan has, and look at their JDM cars,
Mhm.
and tell me it compares to Toyota. Does
No.
not. Does not. Because you got the Chaser, you got the Mark II, you got the what the hell is the other one? The Cresta,
First,
you got the Soarer, you got the Supra, you got the Celica GT4, you got the MR2.
shit, I
Uh,
forgot about that Martin. Yeah, Toyota was hitting back in the '90s, man.
yeah,
It was hitting.
and the Nissan, you got the Sylvia, the Qs and the Ks, which is either turbo or non-turbo. You got the Skyline, you
And
got the
Z-
Sylvia, you got the Celsior. Oh no, that's Toyota. What the hell is that weird one? That
Zafiro.
Zafiro.
Yeah.
That's it. Zafiro, and you had the Laurel. Toyota will shit on almost all of it. I'll go as far as saying that.
Yeah, Toyota had a good lineup back then. Now
And
it's like the
if you want
complete
to talk
complete
drift
opposite
cars,
now.
way better.
Now it's the complete opposite. Toyota ain't doing shit. I mean, the new Supra, but I mean, everybody knows it's a fucking BMW at the end of the day. But now Nissan, they have the GTR, even though that shit needs a facelift. It's been the same car for like what, 10 years now? It looks the
Yeah,
same.
just about. I mean, they just did the Nissan Frontier after 16 years.
So bless you. So they have the GTR, which was built by Nissan. So I mean, even though it's a computer, you're driving a freaking computer because but kudos to them because they actually built their own car. And now they're coming out with the new Z, which is awesome. I think it looks great. Twin turbo 6 speed. You know, they're doing it the right way. I just wish Toyota did like followed suit. But who knows what
And
happens in the future?
it's not like Toyota can't um put out performance cars because I mean, like
They're
you said,
not.
they got the BMW Supra. I like it. I personally like it. They got the FRS, which is the Subaru. Which the FRS, I don't mind it. I feel at a minimum, if it had like a WRX engine, I don't even know. I don't even know
I
what that
think
would
they're
do to the
supposed to be
market.
coming out with one with a turbo WRX motor.
I
I don't
think
know.
that's a game changer.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be an STI engine. I mean, the car's built for handling and all that
handling.
other
Yeah,
good stuff. You put a turbo on it. I mean, even the guys who are turboing the non-turbo cars, it's got to be a fast car at the end of the
yeah,
day.
quick, very quick little car.
But in today's age, it's kind of sad to see the heavy hitters of the 90s die out as far as performance. Like Mitsubishi, done. Nothing.
Bro, yeah, you don't have nothing.
You got the Eclipse. You could put the Talon under 90s Mitsubishi. You
Yeah.
had the Evo in the 90s. You had the 3000 GT.
Eclipse is now a crossover.
Yeah, now it's an
It's an
SUV.
SUV.
What they had some. Yeah, playing Gran Turismo, you had to remember the FTO, which is not
Mm-hmm.
even like a cool car, but it's something different.
Yeah.
Uh, Subaru never really had anything but in a WRX and an STI,
Right.
and the SVX if you really want to be a stickler. Mazda's pretty much done, I would say.
Well, Mazda's still making the Miatas. It's
Yeah,
definitely. They say.
it's
I
in
think they
its
said that the Miata is like one of the highest selling cars in the world because they made so many of them. I'd like a Miata, and I'll put a fucking LS in it, a turbo.
I would not own a Miata. Uh, Toyota. Actually, let's come back to Toyota. They got the two cars that aren't their cars,
Yeah.
but they have the Yaris GR,
Yo,
which,
I love that little
if it
car.
was in America, STI shitted on. What? I mean, that's it. That's all they could compete with. I think they would shit on the STI. I think they're already shitting on the STI in Europe and Japan.
Uh, GRS is a bad little ride, yo. I like it a lot. I was very upset to know that we're not getting it. We never get the cool shit, bro. Like we always get ever since we dropped them bombs, they just been giving us crap.
Oh, soup for you. Uh, I mean, Honda's got the Civic.
Well, Civic
Acura
ain't
is
going
getting
nowhere.
the Acura's got the Integra, which it's funny. Another thing to bring about, I don't know. Did you see that they're going to release the Integra?
Yeah, the new one. And if it looks like, I don't know if the what I've seen was a rendering or the actual car, but if it is a rendering and it comes out looking like that, that car is gonna sell.
Well, it's going to be a four door,
It
and
doesn't
then the
matter
other thing is
because it's a
they
sharp looking rendering.
they discontinued the ILX, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I think it's just a
Just gonna
rebranded
replace
ILX because they already did that once before. Integra to the RSX, and then
Legend to
whatever
the
took over the
TL.
RSX. But that's another thing. Like, I love the sport, the sports cars of yesterday, whatever you want to call it, back in the day. But some people, I think, are kind of stuck in the mind frame that they're gonna rebuild the Supra, the Mark IV Supra. They're gonna rebuild the DC2 Integra. Like, these companies aren't there for the broke kid with the Integra, the broke kid with the Mark III Supra, whatever you want to say. We're not gonna say broke kid with the Mark IV because they're not broke, but these companies are selling not to a car guy. They're selling to
people,
whoever, yeah, to the
consumers.
general population.
Yeah.
And then that's probably why they got rid of the Evo, and that's why they got rid of the I'm pretty sure they got rid of the Supra
Well, the
and
thing
all
is,
that.
I think what stems from that, like, remember, do they still have in Japan GT?
The racing series?
Yeah.
I don't really keep up with that type of stuff.
Back in the days, that's where all the Japanese cars were competing. You had
They were
NSX,
building the
Supra,
car for the
GT. Yeah, every brand from Japan, they had a car in that series. So that's why I think it was more, easier to sell the cars because people on TV, oh, look, this car won it's a selling point.
right.
Now you don't see
Like
that.
the NSX was probably big like that. That's another car we forget. It was back to Gran Turismo. That's the first place I have ever seen the Castro Supra, the Pennzoil Skyline. What was that other the Corvette, the yellow Corvette? Whoever sponsored that one?
Is it Pennzoil?
I'm not sure.
No,
some of those other
Skyline had a Pennzoil, I think.
Yeah, the Skyline was a yellow Pennzoil. The Castro Supra, I don't even know why, but I really, really love that car. Like, I think it's such a cool livery. It was a cool car in Gran Turismo. Easter egg, it had a 4-cylinder, 3S GTE, not even a 2JZ.
They all did. Yeah.
I didn't even know that till like 2 years ago, maybe. And I thought, like, what the hell? Like, I guess just to be within class or whatever, they had to put the 3S GTE in. So, I mean, without video games, those cars would be kind of foreign to us. All those special racing liveries and everything, I would have, when the hell would I have ever seen that car without, maybe even social media, it would have been until years later. So they were, I don't know, I don't even know who the hell they were. I guess they just built Gran Turismo for the world, and being from Japan, Sony or whatever, they included the cars they know of. Of course, they included cars that we know of, and then we were all, I don't know what the hell the word is. I don't know. We were all exposed to these cars that are completely foreign to us.
Right.
Here comes Chris trying to break down the door. But I guess back to the video game thing, which is kind of something I always think in the back of my mind, is the first Need for Speed Underground and some of the silly cars they had in there, like the Neon, the Lancer ES. No, that was Underground 2 with the Peugeot.
Oh, okay.
But the first Underground had a Lancer ES when they could have easily just put the Evo because I think the Evo was already out. And even if it wasn't out quite yet, you could have still put it in there. But they gave us, weird stuff like that. And then, of course, Underground 2 came and still gave us some weird cars, but
they were a lot better.
Yeah, there was a little bit better of a selection.
They had, all right, so Underground was, let's see, what other way? Ford Focus, Dodge Neon. No, the Peugeot 206, that was an Underground one.
Really?
Hyundai Tiburon. That was the last time we seen one of them.
Yeah, that wasn't broken down. But I mean, it was a sporty looking car. Was the AE86 in the first one? I don't think it was in the first one.
No, it was in the second one.
We had it in the second.
That's Underground 2 cars. What are the weird oddball cars they had in that?
The Lincoln Navigator, the Hummer
all
H2,
the SUVs.
the Cadillac Escalade. Like,
There was a Mitsubishi 3000 GT in Underground 2.
yep, I remember it. It was
What the
slow as
hell?
hell.
Oh, they
I
had a
think.
Peugeot 106 in Underground 2.
Ooh. I remember the very last car you get is the Skyline, I believe, the R34.
Wait, they had two Peugeots.
Maybe the non-US version had a different Peugeot because we only had one. And think about this: you're a kid from the US. You're playing Underground 2 and you see the Peugeot. You have no idea what the hell that
What
is.
the hell that is?
Why even put it in the game? You have no idea what that is. All we knew is some foreign piece of crap. They could have put like
You
a
ever seen a
Volvo.
Peugeot?
Bro, when I lived in Lindenhurst, there was this dude always at the beer distributor, like in walking distance. We had this black Peugeot thing. I don't even know what the hell the name of it was, but it was like from the 80s. And I just like, what is that piece of crap? But that's the only one I've seen in real life.
I've seen a couple.
I take that back. Being that I live close to the Mexican border, I see Citroens, I see Peugeots, I see Ford
What about Alphas?
Rangers before the new
Alfa
one.
Romeos?
Mm, New ones, not I don't really see the older ones. Uh, Hilux, High Ace, I've seen. Trying to think of any other oddball cars. Volkswagen in Mexico has a pickup truck. Never
Yes.
seen that in my
Yes, they
life.
do. And it looks actually kind of cool. I think they're pretty dope.
Well,
I
there's
like the
like
way
a
they look.
car version, and there's actually like a pickup version. But the car one, I honestly, the car pickup one, we'll say the El Camino, Volkswagen El Camino. I see it all the time because I use it to guide like those extra wide load trucks
Mhm.
from Mexico into the U.S. So I always see those hunk of craps. Oh, what the hell is it? It's like a little Dodge Ram or something. It's a little Dodge Ram. They call it a Ram, but it's like a little car, and that's from Mexico. Uh, some other like weird little Hyundai. Oh, Hyundai i10. It's called some other hunk of shit. But yeah, I don't know. Some weird cars that I get to see being close to the border
Mm.
that you wouldn't see like unless you traveled
Right.
out of the country. But you know what's also funny about JDM cars is in the early 2000s when everyone's kind of getting hyped. We can't own them, but we're getting hyped about them. Canada had all
Been
those
had
cars.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
they've been had them.
like old news. So I've heard of people bringing them here, after the 25 years. But what does the market look like? I wonder what the market looks like in Canada compared to what it is for us. Because
So from what I've heard, like even I've read that the people in Japan are actually mad or they're beefing with the importers in the US because what they did, they realized that, some of these high ticket cars are gonna fetch a a good price in the years coming. So what they did, they would buy up the cars and then put them in storage.
hmm
And then when the 25-year mark hits, they pull them out and put a big sticker on it.
hmm
So they're they're essentially hoarding the cars, and like they just they fuck the market up, bro. Like it's almost unattainable. Like some of the cars that we would want, like GTR stuff, the regular stuff. So I just think it's unfortunate that these assholes. I mean, I wish I was smart enough or had the capital to do that in the first place, because I'd be one of those assholes. But
Right. I've thought the very same thing. Like, man, like we could have put our heads together years ago and jumped on it when it was still fresh.
yeah,
Because I don't know if we got into this topic before or not, but I mean it's a good topic to get into is the JDM market and how we're killing it, and then on their side of things, they've already kind of figured it out. Like if they're gonna buy it on the US end, we're gonna make money on our end. So then if
right.
their auction price is real high and we're paying a premium and they still gotta sell it to us, then the price is getting really out of hand, you
Yeah.
know, to where maybe borderline kind of taking advantage of the consumer really, because a lot of us, being even myself, I bought it from a third party. I didn't import it myself. I didn't go
Yeah.
directly through an import guide to me. I had to buy it through someone else. So money has to be made along that way from the first person to the second person to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are talking about this.
Everybody got to pay.
Right, everyone's got to pay, and then eventually there's gonna be another guy after me. Who knows when? But the word that gets used in this whole scheme of things is the bubble, the JDM car bubble. And when is it gonna burst? Like the same thing with the housing market. When's it gonna burst? Um, so it's either gonna be, this is what I personally think. I think they're gonna import. They're gonna keep on importing to the point where you might see a couple Skylines on Marketplace. You might see a couple Sylvias on Marketplace. It doesn't turn into that special car anymore when there's a
And
couple
then the
people in your
prices go
city.
back down.
Right. There's going to be people who has this car, like it's a Honda Civic.
Right.
It's not going to be that rare and special. Right now,
That would be nice.
right now it's still a special car. You go to the meet, you see a Skyline, everyone's freaking
Yeah.
out. But I think it's going to get to the point where there might be so many JDM cars in the U.S. that it's just going to turn into more or less another used car. I don't know if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's hopeful to think that that would happen. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. But you never know. I mean, personally, I don't think for that market to get flooded to the point where it's just like, it's only a Skyline. Blah, blah. I don't think there's
Unlikely.
enough cars being imported to reach that level.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I guess it would have to be more if we were to take over the worldwide market, which is impossible because JDM cars have been in Europe since they were new, and those cars probably will never see the light of day of the U.S. Um, I guess I guess you're right on that, where it's unlikely. The other thing is the 25-year rule. Obviously, every year there's going to be new and new and new makes and models. So I think maybe it'll get to the point where it's. I mean, I don't think it will affect the price, but we're gonna get to the point where it's just like, what are you gonna import? A 2006 Camry or something like, you know?
2006 Evo.
Yeah. To get into our earlier discussion, which is kind of, I don't even know how we did it, but somehow I'm gonna connect the two. As a car gets newer and newer and newer, we're getting to the point where there's less and less sports cars that we're going to actually want to own in
Yeah.
the U.S. that comes from Japan. Like there's not that many sports cars being produced anymore, so it's probably going to
There
get to like
isn't
the
because
2000.
right now it's just GTR, NSX. What else?
The Supra, the Z.
Oh, yeah, Supra, the Z. What else? It's four. That's four of them.
The Miata, if you really want to count that.
Yeah,
the
those are pretty
GT86 or FRS, whatever the hell it's
I
called
don't
now.
consider that a sports car. It's a fun car.
But
I wouldn't
I
call it a
mean, but
sports
it's a
car.
car that could be imported. Even though, why would you?
Yeah, because they have them here.
Right.
All those cars are sold here, so
Yeah.
it doesn't even make
Anything,
sense importing.
anything in the 2010 and up era, I would say, is stuff we can
It's
have here.
right. So I don't know.
S2000s,
Maybe
Evos, STIs, stuff like that.
yeah, all that was sold there. So maybe what you're saying is right. Maybe we're gonna get to a point where importing cars from Japan is just gonna be obsolete because at that point,
You're
everything that
gonna
they
run
have
out
over
of
here,
cars to do.
they're gonna run out. So hmm, maybe I'll get my MK4 after all.
Right. Well, there's it's not like it's completely gone, but it's definitely not where it used to be as far as how many are probably left and
Yeah,
who's willing to sell them.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, once you get into the 2000s, bro, it's like, we didn't have the STI in the 80s. I mean, the 90s. We didn't have the Evo in the 90s. The S2000 was in Japan a little bit before we got it, and then of course like the um, Chaser and stuff like that. We didn't
All the
we didn't
Pooch,
get it right. So
all
a
the cool
lot of
shit
those
we didn't get.
cars, right. So we didn't like the weird oddball rear wheel drive cars. We'll say, yeah, rear wheel drive cars we didn't get, but the Evos and the STIs, like once you get past the bug eye, maybe, because I
Mhm.
don't think we had the STI bug eye era. After that,
Yeah,
it's
we
just
did.
like
I think we did.
we did get a bug
STA
eye
bug
STI.
guy?
I don't think
I
so.
believe so. I don't know. I'm not that
But
knowledgeable.
regardless, it's gonna get into the point where it's like, are you gonna want to pay the JDM premium for a car that you can already get here, just because it's right-hand drive? I don't know. That's really not something we need to worry about. But the people who are selling these cars, I'm sure it's in the back of their mind because it's gonna come to a point where it's like, when will the business stop thriving? Like, what will we have
Right.
to import anymore? I mean, who's gonna want to dish out the money for an Evo or an STI anymore?
They're gonna move to those mini cars like a Pajero Mini
Oh, and there's a
or the
market
K
for
cars.
those cars. Yeah,
Yeah, the K cars.
there's
Yeah.
still a market. Yeah, but I mean, even that, I mean, it's gonna be very thin and far in between about who's signing up to get those cars. They're cheap, they're odd, they're different, but they're not a Supra. They're not a Skyline. It's just one of those oddball cars. It's right-hand drive, so it's kind of weird. Like a right-hand drive Wrangler or a Cherokee.
Yeah, they
It's a
have them.
mail truck. It's
They act,
yeah.
they actually no, they actually have right hand drive Cherokees that they
No,
are
I know
importing
it's a
from
mail
Japan.
truck.
Is it a
Well,
mail truck?
yes, we can get them here. They built it for the
Oh,
mailman.
I
You didn't
didn't
know
know
that?
that.
I've seen Cherokees and stuff like that. When I was a kid, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, oh, it's a mail truck. It's not even like people are like, it's a mail truck. Like, it's not even special.
that's that's because I thought they like. I mean, I think well, Jeep is worldwide. Like you see Jeeps all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, of course you can import it, but I'm saying they built them here.
Here,
Even
okay.
the you can get a new Wrangler in a male livery because you have people who live in these rural areas that you need off road or whatever. I don't know, live
Right.
in the freaking nowhere. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's another part of the whole experience is owning the right hand drive is like people notice you. "Oh, he's on the wrong side." But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what the coming years bring for the JDM market. Right now, it's moving, it's booming.
Stupid.
It's getting stupid expensive, and I think I was lucky to get in when I did because even being an automatic twin turbo Soarer is coming up in price. I got mine for like 13 something, and now I could, if I were to turn around and sell it, I'd make money on it right now.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably make money even after dumping money in it. I'll still make money. Just I don't know. The market's getting crazy. But I think that was a good conversation. It was a whole 50 minutes long. I don't know who's going to stay here to watch the whole thing. But if you made it to the end, I appreciate it. I'll give you $500 hairs since you made it this far. Yeah,
I appreciate it.
$500 hairs. But till next time, hopefully we'll have a guest next time. It was shooting the shit with Chris and Adrian. So,
Later.